Hey, happy Wednesday, everyone. Hope you are doing well. It's a beautiful day here in San Diego. Hope it is where you are. It's a little chilly this morning, but it's during the day it gets a little warmer. Great weather for this time of year. And yeah, I hope you are having a great day. This is the in the raw. Sorry, this is in the raw, unscripted, unpracticed, unedited conversation. Comes out automatically now, but sometimes I forget. And this morning I was listening to my devotional. Usually, when I get up in the morning, there's three different devotionals I I do, and one of them I listen to, and it was on Romans 8, 5 and 8, 5 through 8. And let me read that, and then I'll make a couple of comments of what I get out of this. And it says, those who live according to the flesh have their minds set on what the flesh desires. But those who live in accordance with the Spirit have their minds set on what the Spirit desires. The mind governed by the flesh is what the mind governed by the flesh is death, but the mind governed by the Spirit is life and peace. The mind governed by the flesh is hostile to God. It does not submit to God's law, nor can it do so. Those who are in the realm of the flesh cannot please God. So here, it's clearly talking about a mindset. We hear that word a lot, mindset. We hear it in the workplace. We hear it in on a podcast. We might hear it in conversation, and we talk about a mindset. What is your mindset? In other words, what is your attitude? What are you thinking? What is driving your actions, right? And here it's talking about two different mindsets. And so this verse or this passage contrasts living according to a sinful nature, first of all, which is the flesh, and it's also talking about living by the Spirit, right? And it focuses on both of those. If you live by the flesh, then it will ultimately lead you to death. While if you're led by the Spirit, you'll find life and peace, right? And so, and then it says, that a fleshy mindset is hostile to God, and a spirit mindset is pleasing to God, right? So these are two mindsets that it's talking about, in the flesh and the Spirit. As I said, right? The flesh is focused on worldly, sinful desires that leads to death, as I said. And the Spirit is focused on spiritual things leading to life and peace. So we have a choice, where do we want to end up, basically? How do we want our life to end up? Do we want to have hostility to God, or do we want to be pleasing to God? Right? Do we want a mind controlled by the flesh, which is an enemy of God, unable to submit to His law? That's the hostility part. Or do we want to live by the flesh? Do we want to live by the Spirit so that we may please God? And being led by the Spirit is in alignment to His will. We just got through speaking about God's will in the new year. Well, this will align us to His will. So in simple terms, if you're driven by selfish, sinful desires, your life will lead to spiritual death and separation from God. If you're guided by the Holy Spirit, your focus shifts to spiritual matters, bringing you life and inner peace. So a selfish mindset is inherently at odds with God and His commandments. It's simply incapable of pleasing Him, the spiritual mindset, is mindset set by the Spirit, is a, is connected to God, has a lot of benefits, and it will give us inner peace. Sometimes we speak about, that inner peace. The Bible also describes it as, um, um, the soul. When we have, I'm trying to remember that, that passage where Jesus says, I will give you rest for your soul, is what he says. Yeah, he will. And so that rest for our soul is what we need. Sometimes, we live in it full of anxiety. We live, with mental health issues. And because, we don't have that rest for the soul. But when we live with that mindset focused on the Spirit, we will have rest for our soul. We will have control of our emotions, and because God will control our emotions, or the Holy Spirit will control our emotions, will guide us. And um, that's what this is talking about. Which mindset are we at? And so we need to check ourselves. What am I thinking as I go through life? What is my attitude? Am I always, on the defensive? Am I always on the negative, or am I, on the other side? Am I on the offensive? Am I giving? Am I, looking at things in a positive view? So that's it. That's what we need to think about as we continue living our lives here on earth. All right. Well, I hope you have an amazing rest of your day, an amazing midweek, and we will talk to you soon.